We'll get right to the agenda. There's no documents this evening because we're not doing any design updates. We're doing some housekeeping tonight. I'll first turn to Scott and Vivian for the first item, which is an approval to go out to bid on March 12th for the Hosmer and Cuniff Elementary Schools. This is really exciting. Yes. Definitely.
It is
Vivian.
actually very exciting, and the design team has stated that they will be completed on the 12th. So we will be making the documents public on March 12th. So we look for approval to go out to bid on March 12th for both the Hosmer and Cuniff Elementary Schools.
Scott, are you in agreement with this? You all set, ready to go?
I have never been more all set and eager to see something happen in my life. You know,
The principals are here. And the superintendent wants to hear this too.
it's very exciting. It's been an enormous amount of work for everybody in this room and everybody in the school department and everybody at the Hosmer and Cuniff and the safety officials in the town and the town manager and the council and school committee and so many people for so many years. It's hard to believe we're actually going to go out to bid and get this started on construction. Just as an FYI and as a reminder, I should say, these packages will go out to only all of the pre-qualified general contractors and subcontractors that have been selected by the pre-qualification subcommittee of this building committee. So we know who those people are. We're very anxious. We think it's a great group of contractors and subcontractors, and we are very excited to see this day come, for sure.
Okay, before I ask for comments, can I get a motion?
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the school building committee authorizes the project team to put the Hosmer School and the Cuniff School out to bid on March 12th, 2020.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion and comments. John?
Just a couple of quick ones. Just how many, can you say how many pre-qualified there are that it goes to?
For the contractors,
Yeah.
there's 4.
4 contractors, and then subcontractors get a separate?
It varies by trade, but in almost all the categories, we had between 4 and 7 or 8 subcontractors eager to bid on the project. So
I think the only one that had an exception to that was the elevator, but that was to be expected.
Okay. And what's the date that the documents are, the deadline to send it back in?
the filed subbid date is approximately 4 weeks after the release, and then the general bid date is approximately additional 3 weeks after that.
I just want to state for the record before I ask for other comments that the 4 contractors that we're talking about, the project team on both ends have worked with them, and they're very reputable contractors, and they're pretty excited. And from the description, from the meetings I've had with them, it sounds like this could be a really good fit for us, which hasn't been the case in the past. Mr. Tracy will attest to that. Are there any other comments? All those in favor?
They just say Leo.
I don't know, it's just a clarifying question. We can go do the vote, though, that's fine.
Okay, just for Leo, the vote is to approve the bids to go out on March 12th.
Yes.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the website proposal for the 3 elementary schools. And again, this is another very important piece of what we're doing to provide a place where people can go and look at all the projects. And I'll turn it over to Vivian, who helped us with this as well.
Right. There was a subcommittee formed, met with the subcommittee as we reported earlier in previous meetings, revised and the website development proposal based on the input and comments, provided an updated proposal to develop the website, and looking for approval to proceed with that procurement.
Before we ask for comments, can I get a motion to approve the website proposal.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the school building committee approves proceeding with the website development proposal by Sing Nyung, prepared for Hill International.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Any, do you have? you
So,
wanna-
so this is, so the total, just so people know, so the estimate is an estimate of $5,900 to get the website up and running. 5-year prepay of hosting, $2,500. Text and photos, everything will be provided by us. Maintenance is $1,000 a year for ongoing maintenance of the website. Cost of hosting the website is estimated about $500 a year. And it comes with training, and any other additional work is $100 an hour if we want to ask them to add additional stuff or change stuff, subject to that. Once the website is developed, it's basically a standard format, then it'll be our responsibility, and we can figure out who's going to do that, to actually post documents and onto the website. But once the template's set up, any of staff should be able to add stuff like they do to the current website.
John?
And what's the time frame for them to do this?
It would take them at least 4 to 6 weeks to have it up and running.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Mark, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
It wasn't related to the vote. How are we going to go about deciding whose job it is to do that stuff? Like, 4 to 6 weeks from now, I would actually like us to be ready to be like, hey, all this stuff is going up, and it's this person's job, and we're ready for people to see. Like, I don't want to get to that point and then decide to make a plan for it. I just feel like it's
No,
something that public really
We'll
wants.
definitely coordinate with the developer to make sure that he has all the information that he needs, and the site will be, as it's being developed, the information is already being uploaded.
Yeah, I think it's also like, whose job is it after that to also keep it going? Like, I wouldn't want to lag time either in between, because so much, like, 6 weeks from now, there's going to be a lot happening with these projects. so.
I meet with the project management team with Tom and Vivian every week, and we're working out, we wanted to get an approval before we could start talking about, it's going to be, once we get this set up, it's going to be fairly easy. All the documents that Scott has will go on, anything that we have at this meeting will go right on. And all the updated information, I'm going to be working with Vivian to figure out how to get this up and running and who's going to be adding the content.
Okay,
So we'll
great.
bring that back before the 6 weeks are up. In the next meeting or two, I'll have some more information about how we're going to get the content into the website.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Okay. The next item is the approval of the low bidder for the move services contract. Vivian?
So once again, we are very excited to receive approval of the low bidder for the move services contract. This approval would let us enter into agreement with the low bidder for the move services contract.
Can you explain
There
what you
were-
did to get
We did
to?
go out to bid and even had a walkthrough. We had 3 qualified bidders submit, did the due diligence as well as did all of the reference checks, and the low bidder is one that we have worked with in the past, have had a very, very favorable outcome with them, as well as received 3 positive references on this company. If you care to know, the low bidder is A. Wallaca and Sons. We also went out to William Lowe and Sons Corporation, as well as William B. Meyer Incorporated.
So basically, these people all walked through Cuniff West and
We
there's,
did a walkthrough of Hosmer, we did a walkthrough of Cuniff existing, we also did do a walkthrough of Phillips and to Cuniff West, in order to know that from Hosmer and Cuniff, that boxes and items will be relocated to not only Phillips, to the new St. Jude Cuniff West location, as well as items from the Z shape of Hosmer to the existing connection back and forth.
Can I get a motion
Can I
before?
say, so what is the actual amount of the bid?
The low bidder was 76,590.
Okay. And the manager has to sign these contracts?
Yes,
I'm sorry? I
The
didn't
town
hear.
manager has to sign these contracts?
Yes.
Like this, as well as the website contract?
yes. Steve?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask one question, and maybe it's more of a statement than a question. And I don't mean to second-guess any of the things that have gone on, but in some of my conversations with the school administration and the facilities department, there were some concerns expressed about, who's going to be responsible for what in terms of the move and making sure that, I just want to make sure that there's a clear understanding of what the responsibilities are for the move contractor and what things are falling on the town administration, who's responsible for what. Because at least from my impression, I thought maybe a little bit more of that responsibility would have fallen on the contractors as opposed to the school administration or the public facilities department. So I just want to make sure we keep that in mind as we go forward and make sure that the appropriate responsibilities are being handled where they should be.
We do meet weekly as a group every Wednesday in regards to move management, not only with the superintendent, the facilities, with technology, as well as food service and all of the principals for Hosmer, Cuniff, Lowell, and Phillips, the preschool pre-K department. And collectively, we do iron out all of these items that come to
good.
fruition.
Thank you.
Have extensive notes and discussions.
Paul?
In that move figure, are we using typical cardboard boxes or the roller boxes?
They're cardboard boxes.
Boxes.
That's the only way that we could give them to the teachers in advance so that they can start a purge and consolidation process, for example, during the April vacation or right before.
And in the recent contract that the school committee agreed to with the teachers, there is a small stipend for the teachers to at least get the things into the boxes. So that part of it, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dee Dee, that part of it is also included. The teachers will they're not going to move the boxes, but they're going to put what they want in each box, and then movers will move it.
Right.
Leo?
Just to piggyback on what Mr. Magoon was saying, I just want to make sure that we understand the full scope of this move. I mean, it's an incredibly large undertaking, and it's multi-phased and very challenging. Is there any supplemental logistics coordination that the mover is providing, and are we sure, both on the school side and facility side, that they're comfortable with the level of effort that they have to provide balanced with what others should be providing in terms of other vendors should be providing?
Do you have any examples? I'm sorry, it's hard to answer that in such the abstract.
Yes, I have multiple examples in my professional career. One example would be when higher ed institutions move one department to another. They sometimes hire supplemental or outside logistics coordinators for the move, right? Somebody that's coming in with a checklist, tracking packages. Usually the boxes are not cardboard. Usually they're plastic on rollers. They're heavier bins, larger capacity things. They drop them off weeks in advance, and then when the move happens, they consolidate them and they track them. And then that logistics coordinator stays with the move, makes sure everything arrives where it's supposed to arrive, and then reports back to the client, which would be the town in this case, either the facilities department or the school. In this case, I understand that the school has to pack its own boxes. I understand that movers don't do that. But the thing is, it's a massive undertaking for the facilities department and the school to take on this. And I want to make sure that, we provide the necessary services to support our departments internally?
And one of the discussion topics in these weekly move meetings are, now that we do have, once we have approval here tonight to go into contract with the low bidder, we already have planned for an April 1st, for example, when is the staff meeting date to come in, discuss with them the logistics and how to pack, what to pack, how to consolidate, what to purge, labeling the boxes, and, all of those. In preparation for it, we have already created various spreadsheets that were included as part of the bid documents as far as to know quantities, approximate quantities of boxes to be moved, and from which location to the new location that it will be going to. So we've already done a lot of the due diligence parts and have included them as part of the bid documents for the movers, and of course, we will continue to track them. The intent was to get them on board, have them, give a little bit of description and how to pack and create the boxes, where to label so that they're all uniform with the teachers. It's a work in progress. It's not one that is kind of all said and done.
Okay, and so when you say "we," you're referring to your company?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been weekly meeting with the facilities superintendent, as I said, with the principals, generated the list, provided them to the principals, aided them in creating these lists, as well as gathering them and incorporating them as part of the bid documents.
Okay, and because I don't have your scope of services in front of me, it sounds like you're playing a move liaison or move,
Yeah, very much so.
supplemental move coordinator role, and that was in your scope.
Yep.
Okay.
Lori?
I just want to add to that, because I know that I've shared some of the things that I've been doing when it comes to move management. And this has been a very hard and complex project. And there has been, because of this, there has been multiple internal moves that I don't think my expectation management was on point at all for this. And a lot of it had to be done through the principals and through my staff. A lot of it. I think there was lessons learned that in the future, I think either the expectation management that this will be a full-time job for the facilities person, or having somebody do this needs to be done, or at least that for the town to know that, because it was really set with me and the principals to do a lot of this move management. And it did take a lot of time. I think we're in a good place right now. I think we know exactly where the lines are, exactly what we need to do, but I think going forward, and possibly for the high school, that we'll have to do some things differently. Thank you.
So,
John?
Can I add to
1 second.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So just to add a little bit on Lori, just to explain, the internal moves that have nothing to do with moving from the Cuniff to the Cuniff West, for example, or the connector, to a new building, those are the things I think that we didn't anticipate as much. And it was definitely, it was definitely something that as Lori, I just want to echo what Lori said, and I just want to thank the principals and the staff and Lori's department, because I think that, again, they've done very well doing it, but it was just more than I think we anticipated. And I do also want to acknowledge, to your question, the detail in those spreadsheets, classroom by classroom, teacher by teacher, not just boxes, but, bookshelves and, desks and everything else that needed to be moved. And I think that we went through it several times to make sure that we were accounting exactly what it is that needed to get moved. So when the movers came to walk through, they knew exactly what it is that we were anticipating.
And
I feel
also-
confident. I just echo that it was a lot of work. And sorry, I'll stop talking in 2 seconds, but the realization also is that we are working through, 2 intense projects at once, and the Lowell coming on soon. And, I think it's great, and we're so excited, but it's triple the thought of, building, when I think a lot of districts focus on one building, and I'm just saying that it's just, we're working really hard to make it all work, and I think it's going to go really well. But it's just a lot, so.
Please do note, though, that originally the intent was to move one school at a time.
Right.
And in the effort of not only saving on the schedule as well as cost, the desire was to pursue both projects at the
Yes.
same time. So, yes, there was some, really quick thinking and work that needed to happen in order to make it possible and feasible. But I do think collectively, everyone has worked well together and done so.
I think as a committee, we put an awful lot into trying to do these projects together. We put a lot of pressure on a lot of people. But I think as we move forward, the ultimate, getting these two things done so much quicker and doing it at the same time, I think that's what the ultimate, we're all looking forward to that, but it's going to be a challenge. And just because we've moved through this phase and talked about, getting people on board, there's going to be other things that are going to come up that we're not expecting. Because it's, as Dee Dee said, you don't normally do two buildings at the same time. So, John, sorry.
Yeah, no, just, some of the questions have been brought up about who has responsibility between the building department and the school department, and kind of what this move is, the contractor that we're going to be hire for this. I guess we're kind of trusting that that's worked out. I assume that there's kind of some documentation of how that's going to play out. And I just would ask that, in the future, if we can, it would be useful, I think, certainly from my perspective, to have some information about that we could look at. I feel like I'm voting on something here that I don't really, don't have any details at all. And I think
But,
that,
that's part of our scope of work, to make sure that we do the due diligence and we didn't just, we went out for bidding, we did the walkthroughs, we have very personal experience with the low bidder as well. It just so happens, and they received 3 great recommendations as well.
right, and I think that's fine, and that's the job that you should do. I guess as a person who's supposed to vote on it, I guess I would like to see something. And quite frankly, I would say also about the website. There's a proposal there, we voted on that, but I haven't seen anything.
The subcommittee has.
Right, but they could, I just think information would be helpful, because
Okay.
we're voting on something
I
that we
have,
don't see.
yeah, I have no issues sharing the bid documents whatsoever.
Well, the bid document, I think, is that we approved earlier, that's a huge document, that's a different.
No, the bid documents for the move services.
Right. Okay, but I think we're voting on it now, and so, I just would hope that we could have information about that I'm going to trust that those arrangements will be worked out, but it'd be nice to see that a little bit in advance. Anyway.
Are there any other comments? Lindsay?
Seems to be okay if it's far away. I just kind of wanted to echo what John was saying, is that I feel like a lot of our questions about the stresses and Lori's concerns about how much work there was to do, a lot of it was just that we actually didn't have any information other than the plan is in progress until right now. Like, I had no idea that so much was being done by Lori and her team, and that had, even if it was short-term and there's nothing we could do about it, I think that it's nice to hear about those things. And also even just like seeing what is the scope of the work that this move company that we're hiring out is planning on doing, sort of answering some of Leo's questions about like whose job is the other stuff, and that's just things that we could know as a committee to decide. And even like we've kind of discussed, and the subcommittee may have discussed what was going to go on the website, but no one else has seen that, and couldn't even actually tell you really what the final choices were, what the components of what we're paying for. And so I think it's just, there's a lot of meetings going on all the time, and I feel like the only feedback we're getting on that is the summary of what the decision is going to be, rather than any of the other information, how they got there. And I think it's just all important decisions, and it just leaves a lot of questions for us when we haven't seen those things before we're asked to vote on it, so.
These are all very good points, but this is why we hired an orders project manager, to go through all of the details for this committee, because this committee meets at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night now once a month. And that's not something, I will work with Hill to try to get us more information on other things as we move forward, but this is their job. And
Well, I don't want like all the details on
Yes.
things, but even just a summary, 1 page, right, of what it is that
Good
the
point.
work that has been done. Yeah.
Point well taken, and I agree. We can do a better job with that. But I will work with Hill to do that.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the school building committee approves the move service contract for the Cuniff and Hosmer schools to A-Walk and Sons for $76,590.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Scott, Vivian, do you have anything additional?
I do not.
I do not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sustainability Committee update. John?
So the Sustainability Subcommittee met just before this at 5 o'clock, and we continued our discussion with the consultant, Beth Greenblatt, about that kind of option of the third-party ownership of the solar array versus the town ownership. And the discussion will continue. We didn't resolve anything. There's a lot of information. Some assumptions go into the modeling, and there'll be some adjustment on the assumptions. We talk about the battery option and what that would mean, and a variety of other issues related to it. And we'll meet again before the next meeting at 5 o'clock to continue the discussion.
Any questions on the sustainability? Steve?
I just had, and I apologize because this has nothing to do with the Sustainability Committee. And I promise I won't.
Quite all right.
I hope I won't generate as much conversation as my last comment. One question I'd mentioned to Scott before the meeting, that there were some concerns expressed about the play area in front of the Cuniff, that if it's going to be used for T-ball, that it needs a backstop. And I know that, there's pros and cons to that, some concerns about that. But I was wondering if maybe Scott could produce a visual for us that would give us a sense of what it might look like if there was a backstop in that play area in front of the Cuniff, if that was possible.
We'd certainly be happy to do that if the committee would like us to do that, no problem.
Thank you.
Any other comments on sustainability, questions? Yes.
Just one comment. So if, I know we're still early in the discussion, but if we decide we want to do a PPA, that has to go out with a request for proposal, right? That we just, in order to get, if we ever get to that point.
That we would go out with a.
We have, under the public bidding laws, we would
Right.
actually have to
Yes,
go out.
no, that's true.
So it would be, we'd have to develop plans and specs and do a request for proposal
Right,
type thing.
right. But I think the way, and Scott can add to this, but I think the way the project is moving forward, we've kind of built in, AI3 has really built in some time for us to give due deliberation to this issue. Because as was pointed out, the canopies are going to be part of the bid document that's going out. So that's going to be handled already by the town. It's built in. So we have some flexibility to, I think, give this due consideration. But you're right, yes, if we do the PPA, we'd have to do a request for proposals, whatever the technical language would be.
And we're still going out with the bid alternate for the panels.
For the panels themselves.
themselves. So we'll actually know, we have a good data point. what
Yep,
to think.
we'll have an idea of costs from that.
Yeah, I think that in the time period between, let's say, mid-May and mid-June, the building committee will likely have to make a decision about whether they want to accept the pricing alternate for the photovoltaics that are built into the bid, or not accept those and pursue some other avenue.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public? Review and approval of invoices.
None tonight, sir.
Next meeting of this committee is March, March 18th, and that will be on the high school. It's not a formal committee meeting, but on March 19th, we're going to take the show on the road, let's say, and we're going to the Hosmer School, and we're going to notify as many of the abutters as we can get to, to go over, start going over logistics. Vivian, if you want to help me with that?
Sure. The plan is to review the construction phase of the project, as well as drop-off and pickup locations for Hosmer during the construction phase. And some of the topics I imagine will include physical education, curriculum, lunch, and also outdoor play.
We will be doing the same thing in April, the beginning of April at the Cuniff, and we will notify all the neighbors by postcard, not expecting people to sign up for something for this, so. That's going to be at 6 o'clock,
Yes.
and I assume in the cafeteria,
For the Hosmer, we have reserved the auditorium.
okay? So those are our next meetings. Any other, when, you have the next Sustainability Committee meeting will be on the 18th.
Before the
Okay,
Wednesday
okay.
meeting, yes.
Okay. Anyone else in the public have questions or concerns? Yes.
I just want to ask about the 18th meeting. So,
The 19th.
19th, okay.
Well, the 18th is the high school, sorry.
So which day are you talking about?
Sorry.
The Hosmer is when?
The Hosmer's the
Hosmer
19th,
Community.
the high school is the 18th.
We'll spend quality time this week, okay. So I heard you talk about the flow and the drop-off. Are we going to talk about the neighborhood parking, the traffic beyond, for the neighbors for the drop-off and the pickup times? All of that will be included, not just how it's going to affect the school and the school traffic, but the
I
neighbors?
imagine this is going to be a continued conversation. It isn't just a once and done. But the initial one is to demonstrate and illustrate the construction phasing that we have collectively with the architectural team been working on, as well as kind of the proposed plan for drop-off pickups, as well as where the new locations for the entrances for the Z-shape will be, and our proposed ideas of making certain streets only for neighbors, abutters, as well as one-way, and where now the flow will be for parents' drop-off and pickup locations. I'm assuming that during these conversations, inevitably, there will be topics including physical education, as well as lunch, cafeteria use. So we'll touch upon the neighbors and abutters, but it isn't focused directly or specifically on them.
So I'm going to ask that we have a focus related to the abutters and the neighbors, because we live there 24/7.
Absolutely.
And while the school has a lot that they'll be impacted, that's our neighborhood, and we're going to face it all the time, while the school is just facing it in between there. So we will participate in getting as many of the neighbors as possible at that meeting, but I would hope and expect, and I know that you'll support this, Mark, that is something that will be spoken about and addressed from the very beginning, through the summer, through the winter, and how we're going to address that component, because, again,
As we've done in the past.
I can't get out of my driveway in the morning now, so.
Right. As we've done in the past, we want to gather everyone's concerns, because I'm sure the project management team doesn't know all of them at this point. So part of that, as well as what Vivian talked about, for me, it's going to be gathering the concerns of the neighbors in all the streets, and how we can address, like Vivian said, maybe making a street one-way, making a street residents only. So those are going to be part of the discussion, separate from what Vivian said. It's my intention to make sure that all the residents have an opportunity to tell us what their concerns are. And we're going to have more than one meeting.
Right, the 19th is just the start of the the start of the conversation, because we do have to do this not only for Hosmer, for Cuniff, and, Cuniff West now going into a neighborhood that is not of their, that they know of well.
No, I understand, but the neighbors there and the neighbors in Hosmer, making streets one-way and talking about parking situation and traffic flow for our homes is critical. And
Absolutely,
so we'll be there to talk about that. Thank you.
absolutely. We welcome it.
Anyone else?
What time is the Hosmer?
6 o'clock. Please identify yourself for the record. Some of us know who you are.
Yes, my name is Bill Furtado. I live in Watertown. I'm the president of Watertown Youth Baseball. And Steve brought up the possibility of having some sort of a backstop or some sort of fencing at the Conniff when everything is done, so we can have T-ball there. That's all. I really support that, and we need it. Thanks.
Anyone else? Any other comments from the committee? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Since it's in the district.